comes through. We have this huge heat trap that they wanted. And then we get to our close tees. This is return going, this is the primary secondary loop coming back. And then it goes to the rest of the header. So the pump stations are actually going this way and this way. I just didn't have a ton of room, as you can see, everything's kind of crammed in there.
Did a nice job.
Thank you. Yeah, we had an I don't really like these, but we don't insulate. We had an insulator do it. It's better than, I try to have a big Velcro, but I don't know. You can talk about it forever. You know how it goes.
Yeah, the Velcro's much easier.
Velcro's much, I can't answer for it. You know how it is. There's also full-size tappings here. So we got a full-size tapping supply with a blind flange and a full-size tapping return with a blind flange above your head. It was on the spec to provide that in case there's ever a temp boiler or something. I don't know if that's ever really happened, but if
You never know.
you never know. So they are here, and they have butterfly valves and everything holds. But just be careful taking the blind flange off because, you know, it's just totally live on the other side. So we got our mag screens here. That's a mixing valve. Thank you for touching that. So that mixing valve, because these pumps ramp on their own DP, that mixing valve is never going to actually stroke, realistically. So this mixing valve is controlled through the front end, which is another reason it was hard to get all this stuff controlled through the Vito dens. So this mixing valve has its own DP station, which is 2/3 above those old Bandon boilers. I can show you that when we get there. And it's just to maintain whatever the DP is. This is really kind of it's older technology because these pumps can ramp down so slow. These pumps actually don't have a minimum speed. They can spin like 4 RPM if you really wanted to. So these things will totally maintain the differential pressure by themselves. This thing should never really have to do much. It was just in the drawings to provide it and the logic for it. So I guess you could maybe use it for something else if you needed to, but we just had to provide it. So
I've never seen one like this one.
yeah, basically it's a floating valve, 0 to 100. That's closed. That's open. If the DP gets too high on the station over there and the pump's already at its minimum, the front end will try to stroke this open. Essentially, what it is, but it's never going to really have that condition. So the Turbo Max themselves, this is I haven't really done. They're already 2 years old. Now this style, the boiler water is the outside and the domestic water is the inside, which I think is a much better system than the ones that previously done. Like St. Paul's, I believe, going back a few years now, 4 years, I think that's the other direction, where the coil is the hot water and the outside jacket's the domestic water.
Superstar.
Right. So this,
We have these everywhere.
yeah, these I think are pretty fantastic. So, I mean, they can do the changeover. I think you're gonna have a huge capacity problem, I don't think. Because you got a lot of water here. We washed it, we turned all the faucets on, and they still maintain. So these are set for like 160 degrees. This is the boiler temperature, boiler water temperature of the tank. So it's right around 160. They're balanced the same. The flow's the same. Just think of these as one big tank, but it's just 2 individual tanks if you have to ever get them out. If you get them out, it's gonna suck anyway. So all the stuff we put in, a lot of
They're working together. They're
that's
not,
working together. That's correct.
one is not a lead, the other one is a.
That's correct. They just think of these. So these are piped, full flow, equal flow through both. So think of these as just one big tank.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to valve one off, there's nothing you have to do to the other one.
Right.
It's just gonna work. You got to relief stuff like that. You got the domestic side.
Yeah. You was wondering about those things.
Which one?
Those little boys.
These guys right here.
Yeah.
Got vacuum breakers. Yeah. Which is funny because
Johnny loves that style.
yeah, I don't even know really. There's no vessel here on the domestic side, so you don't really need them. But they're just in the spec to provide them. It's just if you open this up, it's just a bunch of cotton pipe. There's no
We've got them
vessel.
open before.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's no like vessel really. So I don't. But it was.
They're a monster to move, too.
Yeah, I think like 700 pounds. It was not fun. I had to get them in here, and they put them on bolts too, so you have to like wobble the things through,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the bolts go through the pallet, so you have to like deadlift the thing. Like it was not fun, but it's over. Let me think. Anything else? The boiler pump on this guy is also a Grunhaus pump. So this has its own pressure rating. And I put everything what's balanced to, so it's balanced to 5 PSI
27.
constant pressure. So that's the right GPM through these.
That's the red PSI, right?
27, that's correct. Yep, I wrote that. So they come 12 from the factory, but the static head, you had to, we have to go up like 80 feet or whatever. So you do the math out, it comes to like about 27 PSI. So that's what we pre-charge those to.
We've seen some at 8.
Yeah, it's not going to do much for you.
No, not at all.
I think we have like a 35-pound-ish fill, so that gives you a decent amount of space of actual volume. We haven't had any pressure release pop or anything. We've had that
No,
up to
that's
160 degrees. So we've had the building full. Like when we balanced everything, we took all the zone valves off, let the pumps go through and everything. So we've seen as much heat as it could see without a major malfunction, and we haven't seen any relief problems or nothing. The flue for this guy was horrendous to install. Are you familiar with this chimney that's right over here on that building? We had to run it all the way up through there, and it's like 30 feet above the roof. So if you ever have to get there, I don't know how you're gonna get there, but hopefully you don't have to get there. We also fixed the flue for the existing ones. I don't know if a Pelican came through and smashed the top, but the top blew off. We put another termination kit on that. So shouldn't have to go up there, but if you do, it's not gonna be fun. This vacuum relief is very important. If the boiler's running full stack, full tilt, high load, and there's a power failure, because the chimney is so long, this has to be operational. But also suck the fluid and collapse it, and no one wants to deal with that. So this is just a spring. So just make sure your your monthly maintenance or whatever that this isn't totally rock solid. Just because it shouldn't have to happen, but basically that's there so that if it's running full tilt and a power failure, the escaping flue gases don't have to pull against everything and they'll collapse the pipe. So this is actually pretty important.
You put the rocks or the bags?
Those are just rocks inside of there. It's not the bag. So we have an extra thing of neutralizing media that's in the other room. At least it was when I left here a couple months ago. I think it's still here.
We got tons.
Yeah. So basically that's the top serviceable. You pull it off, change all the stuff you got to do, and that's really all it is for that. Anything else I can think of in this room as far as a